All right. Welcome back to another episode of MacArthur Manor. This is our third shot.
yeah?
It's been a little bit of a break.
Yes.
I went to New York for a couple weeks and
How was that?
cold.
Yeah.
Actually, not too cold. I heard like there was winter storms that came after I left, but when I came here, it was like pretty cold here too.
Yeah.
Like,
Wait. In New York, did you wear one of those sweaters or jackets that go to your ankles?
oh no, it wasn't that cold. I mean, I'm
Oh.
just being, ever since I left New York, like 11 years ago, I've kind of gone soft.
Yeah, I can feel that.
So like when I go there, it's really cold, but like, it was only like probably in the 30s or 40s. It wasn't like super bad.
No, that's still cold, dude. We live in LA.
Right. But like, in New York, when it gets cold, it gets like in the 20s, sometimes in the 10s.
Did it snow?
No, it didn't.
Was there any slush?
No, fortunately.
Oh, that's good. Cool.
Apparently it snowed recently in LA though, like last night or something. Like some parts, like not enough to accumulate, but like snowflakes came down in parts of LA.
I mean, I was around like this weekend when hail came down.
Yeah.
That was so intense.
Like I've lived here since 2012. I feel like the last 2 months have been more rain than like the past 10 years or so combined.
Although, let's be real, human memory is faulty.
I guess it's true. That is true.
Yeah.
But it's just been like nonstop. It's freaking freezing out here.
Yeah, I agree. Dude, I'm like, how am I supposed to walk outside? It's freezing. I don't know.
It's freaking freezing here,
It's so
Mr. Bigglesworth.
So
Two LA people talking about the weather. How original, right?
okay, whatever. What's going on in the news, Doug?
Wow, what is going on? What is going on indeed? So, have you heard about the train derailment in East Palestine, Ohio?
No.
Oh, really?
No.
So it's interesting. You know how we talked about the spy balloon last time, like about the Chinese spy balloon?
So-called spy balloon.
Right? How they shot F-22s shot missiles at them, like.
We're just using our investments.
So on the same day, actually, there was a train derailment in East Palestine, Ohio. It's right up near the border of Pennsylvania and Ohio. And
Are there Amish people there?
I'm not sure. I don't think so. It's just like middle,
Okay,
kind of
sorry.
like middle America-ish area. But it's right near the Ohio River, right? And so what this train carried were chemicals, like toxic chemicals from this company called, I think this train company called Norfolk Southern or something. They make
From
millions-
Virginia?
I'm not sure.
Okay, sorry, continue.
Maybe. I don't know where they're based out of, but like it's a train company.
Uh-huh.
Lots of chemicals just like spilled out into the river and then like a fire came, so there was like toxic fumes all over the place. And the government like tried to like minimize it. So the town of East Palestine has like 5,000 residents. So they were like the Norfolk Southern people were like, oh, we'll give them $25,000.
Oh no, they now have cancer and $25K will not do anything for their
so
medical
then like
bills.
there was a lot of like hoopla, like journalists were like, what the hell is going on here? Because like this could be a disaster area for years. This was pretty much the worst ecological disaster in the United States probably in the past. I don't even know when probably the Gulf thing that happened.
Yeah, I was gonna say the Gulf oil
Yeah.
spill, which was
So
pretty
it's like-
freaking bad.
It was so bad. But then like during this time, Biden went to Kiev, Ukraine, instead of like going to East Palestine. And you know what's funny? Like Trump actually went to East Palestine being like, hi guys, I'm here for you. Kind of like campaigning for, he's running probably for 2024.
Smart move, Trump. Good job.
You gotta kind of hand it to him. He knows how to like
Market himself.
I mean, like he was on The Apprentice, right, for X amount of years, and he knows like what the people respond to. And like in the midst of that, we're giving like we've given around $120 billion to Ukraine right now for their military, like
Wow,
military
have
aid.
we? Can you believe it's been a year?
It's been over a year. 'Cause,
Yeah.
Yeah, Russian invasion happened in February last year.
That's
So
crazy.
like we are just dumping money into that thing, and then like to see like Norfolk Southern try to offer $25,000 buyout. I think they then since upped it to $1 million after a lot of pressure, but that's still like
Thank freaking God.
$200 for like cancer.
Yeah.
I think something happened where they're now guaranteed Medicare for life or something like that, but it's just like
You're your life is no longer going to be the same ever.
Yeah.
It's completely altered.
Yeah. So then there's a lot of like, there's a lot of kind of like.
Okay, Doug, that's really
Shit
sad
going on.
news. Is there anything in the news that's at all positive?
Well, no.
Did like someone save a pony? A child get saved from a burning building? A parent lift a car? I don't know.
Well, apparently the Department of Energy and the FBI say now that there is proof that COVID-19 came from some sort of lab leak.
Ooh, that's juicy.
They're saying it came out of a Wuhan lab, so they're going with the Wuhan lab leak theory, but they're not specifying who owns what lab and
Yep.
whose money is in what. They're
Yep.
they're just saying China's kind of it's kind of like the subtext is like China's responsible for this, but it kind of makes no sense because like why would China release a virus
Yeah,
into their own
that would
people?
fuck their shit up.
Yeah, it's like to mess up the West. Like that doesn't make sense. If they wanted to do it, why would they start with their own people first?
Although, if a conspiracy theorist thought that they created this to like get the entire world inside so that everyone become addicted to TikTok,
I guess so.
long plan, buddy.
But here's the other conspiracy theory.
Okay.
What if the Democrats actually released COVID-19 into the
Genius.
because like I don't know if you know like how the elections were going, but 2020, like in the beginning of 2020, it looked like Trump was going to destroy any candidate that the Democrats put out. But then lo and behold, COVID came and Trump like
Oh, poor
Trump
Trump.
lost, right?
Yeah.
And then like Biden out of all the candidates, nobody expected Biden to win, but it was just like
No.
anyone to like stop Trump, right? That was the slogan, the Democrat slogan back in 2020. Look how he's like destroying the country. He can't run COVID, blah blah blah. And so like they put Trump, Biden up, who's like basically a Republican in Democrats' clothing.
So Trump got COVID, and they got all that South American good stuff. You know what I mean? Spinal cells and whatnot.
South American good stuff. Wait, what's that?
Well, he was given treatment.
Oh, like the best of the best. Yeah. I mean, like obviously he's the president. They're gonna give him like the top-notch research kind of stuff to like save him, right?
Yeah.
I mean, he's like.
I wonder if he's more virile now than he was before the pandemic or COVID because of just how good that stuff is. He's like, I feel like I'm in my 50s again, even though I look like I'm in my hundreds.
Do you remember what he said? He was like, I beat COVID and the doctors looked at my DNA and they didn't say it wasn't DNA. They said it was USA.
I don't remember that, nor do I care to know that.
I
Thank
mean,
you.
he's kind of funny. Like, even though he's kind of crazy.
He's your
but-
favorite.
I mean, like, look, if we're going to get screwed by the government, you might as well put a comedy show on it while we're getting screwed, right?
Yeah,
like,
I guess that's true.
yeah.
All right, you ready to get into the fact check?
Yeah.
Cool.
Ooh, I've got it ready for you. So I don't know if you remember, but the one of the first things we talked about was the Citizens United versus the FEC in 2010. Basically, it was a case where in 2008 during the Democratic primaries, you know how it was like Barack Obama and Hillary Clinton, they ran this like video. It was this conservative like nonprofit organization that ran this video against Hillary Clinton. I guess like I think the law at the time was like in 2002, there was like the law that said 30 to 60 days before the election or whatever, for primaries or whatever, you're not allowed to do that. Like no entity is supposed to do that. But they brought it to the Supreme Court, and basically the Supreme Court ruled in favor, saying that the First Amendment overrides that previous thing, and saying that corporations should have the right to say whatever they want if they are not affiliated with a politician, right? Like if XYZ corporation wanted to say blah, 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 they should have the right to say it, right?
Yeah.
And so after this case, I mean, it was a very contested case. It was like 5-4, so that it passed through. But people, the legal community kind of like argued that like it gives corporations now even more power, right? Like now they can, afterwards, there were these things called super PACs, which are political action committees. Basically, because they're not affiliated with any politicians, now corporations can dump money into them, and they can like make these like campaign things like about a candidate that they like or whatever, and they're not like bound by any kind of like rules. So it kind of like one of the things I read was that there was a 2021 study, like basically like looking back at the effects of it, and they basically said like it took the power kind of like out of the hands of political parties and started putting them more in corporations, because it's obvious, right? Like now they can dump money and like fund these media organizations to do whatever they want, and like some probably believe that it had a lot to do with Donald Trump's election in 2016, because now you have independent Republican media sources kind of like, you know, saying pro-Trump things, or like they want their candidate in power. So then, I think there was, the study also revealed like in certain districts or whatever, it did kind of benefit the Republican Party in a lot of like different elections around the country.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks for sharing.
That's cool. And then so the Susan B. Anthony thing.
Yes.
So she was in the early 1800s. I mean, she was born in 1820, right? So by the mid 1800s, she was already doing like, you know, what was suffrage, kind of like the suffrage movement. And you know how, like, you know, obviously in the 1850s there was like suffrage movement, and then there was the abolitionist movement, right? There was the slavery was still around during the Civil War, which was in 61 to 60. Civil War was 61 to 65. So during that time, they kind of like merged their causes together to be this progressive like block that was kind of like, oh yeah, we're fighting for against slavery, blah blah blah, whatever. So then they're kind of like aligned together, like with Frederick Douglass and people like that. It was like a unified front. Once 65 happens, Civil War ends and slavery is abolished, right? The 13th Amendment, the 14th Amendment, 15th Amendment are passed. And the 15th Amendment is like basically like all men have now the right to vote. But that was in 1870, so 5 years after the Civil War. But Susan B. Anthony actually was against that passing, because she kind of like was like said kind of racist stuff, like saying like black men were against women, so if you pass this through, it's going to be harder for us to get suffrage, and like black people are like undereducated, so it would actually be better for white women to vote because we're more educated, we know what's going on. And so like she would say these kinds of things to
It's
kind
really
of like
infuriating, just because people will pit one themselves against
Exactly.
another rather than just trying to support and get
right,
equal rights
right.
for everyone.
It's like, okay, you got your rights, now let's try to, you know, now that we, you know, scratch my back, try to work together for that. And I think that really I think even before then they were kind of like pushing black women to the side, like Sojourner Truth. I mean, there was this famous thing that Sojourner Truth said, like, ain't I a woman? Like saying basically, you guys aren't including black women. Like,
Yeah.
what the hell is that about?
Yeah.
And so during this time, especially in 1870, there was kind of like a split in the suffrage movement, like of the, you know, the white women and like the black women or the people of color. And so, you know, I think the amendment actually might have passed after she passed away. I think she was like, she lived to 88, which would have been 1908-ish. And I think the suffrage amendment was like 1920. So yeah, it kind of like, I don't know exactly what happened, but like, I can't verify the other thing that I said, that the people were like, like
Okay.
I think that might have happened without her, but I think this event influenced that, right?
Okay.
Where like white women were just kind of like, we need to get ours, and like, you know.
Well, thanks for looking that up.
Oh yeah, and then the Bill Gates thing. I don't know if you want to go into that.
What?
Oh well, did you ask your sister?
Yeah, I did. So I asked my sister, and she confirmed that honestly, it's not to say one of the easiest things, but it's awesome because over 34,000 students apply for it, and only 300 students get it a year.
What was it called? Like, what's the program
It's
called?
The Gates Scholar. It's the Gates Scholarship.
It's like 1% almost.
Yeah.
And
But they
what were the
fund-
requirements? Like, how did she get in?
You have to be eligible for a Pell Grant.
What's Pell Grant?
That means your family's household income has to be under $80,000
okay.
a year.
Yeah.
And then also you have to be in good academic standing with at least a 3.3.
Okay.
You have to be a senior in high school. You have to be a U.S. citizen, national, or permanent resident.
Mm-hmm.
And you have to be from at least one of these ethnicities: African American, Indian, Alaskan Native, Asian and Pacific Islander, or Hispanic.
Okay, so just not white.
Yes, exactly. And all you have to do every year is to refill out your FAFSA, resubmit to show that you're registered for a school.
What's it called? Like, what's the scholarship called? Did she say anything?
It's called the Gates Scholarship.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's the Gates Academic Scholarship.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. But she's like, it's one of the easiest thing. It helps to fund not only your tuition, but also housing, room and board, and the other stuff that you'll need, like books.
Yeah.
So
did you have to do anything afterwards? Like, be on photo shoots. Like,
no,
look at mine.
no. Literally, all you need to do is a completed FAFSA, a renewal form, and an enrollment verification form. And you have to graduate within 5 years.
Okay.
And they would also support you if you wanted to go for a graduate degree too.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So like it's not as slimy and.
Well, I'm not saying that exact thing was slimy.
Yeah.
I didn't.
You're
say
talking
that.
about the person.
Yeah, I mean, like, so I did a little
digging.
little digging, little Dixie. There's this Indian woman named Vandana Shiva. So she is kind of like an agricultural. She's a PhD in like agriculture stuff.
Ooh, I
like,
love that.
And yeah, so basically she's saying that Bill Gates. I mean, you might not like what she has to say about Bill Gates.
Can't shame a victim.
She basically compares him to J.D. Rockefeller. Do you know Rockefeller?
Yeah, pretty rich man.
Yeah. What are your impressions of Rockefeller today?
I mean, though you have to, like back then, to be a capitalist, of course you've got to step on a lot of people. You've got to have essentially slaves to make that kind of money.
I mean, he was after the slavery period. I mean,
I know,
Standard Oil.
but to say that you're paying fair wages, that everyone has in good working conditions, if not slavery. But he was able to create some pretty great stuff, even though a lot of.
You know about like what kind of stuff did he create?
Well, dude, I can't think of it.
Okay. But you're saying that he was
he helped create a lot of infrastructure for the United States,
right? But you're saying that like your impression overall of him is pretty good, right?
I mean, I can't say one way or another if I like the guy. It's just, hey, I know he, like, again, he did stuff, he created stuff,
but he's not too bad of a guy. He's not too like.
Let's be real. If you're gonna ask me if a white man back then that's rich did some shady shit, yeah, I'm like, let's be real. Epstein's Island, like, all day.
Okay, so you did. Okay, then you know that Bill Gates has done some shady
only
stuff.
Because you told me. I didn't do additional research on that.
Okay.
I didn't go on like a Reddit forum like, yo, so let's go dig deep into what Bill Gates has done.
I mean, I guess it's just like the idea of like, if somebody got their money through like ill-gotten means, right? Does it make them like now absolved of those things if they now do good things or perceived good things for?
Oh man,
society?
is this conversation today going to be completely different? Are we derailing?
Because
I'm like, because this is fun. If we're having a moralist conversation,
I guess we don't have to go into that.
I'm like, this is fun. I love this.
But I guess like check her out, Vandana Shiva. I guess like we won't have to go into it too much, but she talks about how like one of the things like the vaccine stuff, right? How he's very heavily in vaccines, but now he almost has like a lot of control of the WHO, World Health Organization.
Thank you.
He, well, I don't know.
No, it's helpful.
But before COVID, he had a lot of investments in Pfizer and BioNTech that like made a crap ton of money during the pandemic because of those vaccines, right? Because
let's be real. Rich people got their fingers in a lot of pies. It's not they're waiting for one investment to blow up.
But think about it. They have control of the WHO, right? So then I'm not saying they planned like I'm not going that conspiracy theory far. But what I'm saying is like
that's surprising.
They saw an opportunity, and like now that he has so much control of the WHO, now he says, do these vaccines. We need these vaccines, whatever. And now it's like, wait, are these vaccines, do we really need a booster every year? Like, and now people are getting sick like from some booster shots, and the efficacy rate is not as high as it was advertised to us. And like, people still get back, whatever. So it's just kind of like, she was basically saying like, there's something going on here, right? Like where people, it's just like the idea of like people just having too much control over something like the WHO, which should be like a publicly controlled thing, right? And the other thing she was talking about, I'm not too familiar with this because I'm not like a agriculturalist or whatever, but she claims that like Bill Gates is doing something called surveillance agriculture.
I think you touched on this.
Yeah. So he's buying up all this farmland, whatever.
Yeah,
He's trying these like things like synthetic fertilizer, which he says is like better solution. But then like her argument is like he's creating problems that he wants to solve. He's like creating a market for problems that didn't need to be solved. For example, like I don't know. So that's just her. I'm not an expert on the agriculture industry.
I get that, but my thoughts are that why not? If you have all this time and if you're smart enough and you have the resources to be able to do studies and hypothetical situations and create solutions for hypothetical situations, you are setting yourself up for success.
No. She's not saying that. She's saying he's creating, like he's saying that there's a problem when there isn't, and saying like, oh, this is the solution, like we need synthetic fertilizer. And she's like saying, well, synthetic fertilizer, there's a lot of like, it's kind of like, you know about electric cars, right?
Yes.
So it's advertised as really good for the environment, obviously, because it's no CO2 emissions, blah, blah, blah. But we don't fully know what the effects of lithium battery disposal yet. I mean, like, there's just not enough data. There's just not enough time for, like, all that battery, you know, in the wasteland to, like, see, like, is this actually, like, net positive? So it's kind of like the same thing where it's like, oh, like, we don't know exactly. She was basically saying, like, we don't know exactly, like, what the net effects are if, like, we create the synthetic fertilizer, if it actually is better for this farmland or not. So and it's kind of like she's basically saying it's almost like a mad scientist running amok, and we don't know what's going to happen. So I mean, if you want to look more, check more into that.
Okay, thank you.
I can't really explain much more than that.
I don't know how big she is in terms of.
She's pretty influential. She's been on like pretty.
No, I'm saying that. I'm just like, just because her scope of what she affects and the information she's uptaking, right? Because Bill Gates is like the NSA. He's just got
She might be a little biased, but she does talk about India in general, right? Like how Microsoft really used the monopoly of just having every like computer under its control for like 20, 30 years, and that kind of like controlled the IT kind of industry, and a lot of that used cheap Indian labor for profit.
Slavery.
So a little bit of that, like Rockefeller, like Gates. It's just like now that slavery is out of sight, out of mind. It's not in the United States. They're using Indian engineers, right? Because like I don't know if you know India too well, but like
dude, they've got the top engineers.
Like crazy. Like I watched when I was looking up like YouTube videos for like how to program Python. Just like be Indian guys explaining all this shit to me. I was like, oh, that's cool.
Dude, so not going to give a source, but a huge company that I detest. Actually, one of my friends was a recruiter for them for the IT industry. And the U.S. has a lot of restrictions in terms of like what you need in order to recruit and how to hire. They've got a lot, especially California.
Oh, like H-1B visas and stuff like that?
Not just that. To be diverse, you have to be.
Oh, okay.
All that stuff.
Yeah.
Equal opportunity employer. But the thing is, this huge company, they're like, even though technically we're supposed to do that, they would tell the recruiters, we actually want you to only look for our engineers from India. Seriously, dude. Yeah, that's how.
But I will say, like, so one of the debates going on is about affirmative action these days or whatever. Mm-hmm. And I'm just kind of like, for something like doctors and whatever, I'm like, give me an Indian doctor all day. I don't care.
Dude, I'd be like, if people are going to do affirmative action, I'm like, affirmative action for poor people because they have less access to resources.
Yeah. But like, it's just like, if you're letting in people with like lower MCAT scores and like lower GPAs in general in the sciences, I'm just kind of like, I don't know if I really want that to be my doctor. Don't you want your doctor to like know their shit?
I want my doctor to have great bedside manner.
I don't know. For me, I just like, I just want you to, you know,
dude,
I don't go to the doctor often, but
like Tomas had a doctor that was just like, oh, you have an ailment, turn around and bend over. And he's like, but that doesn't have anything to do with why I'm here. He's like, well, I just have to check. He's like, no, I don't want to do that.
What, like a colonoscopy?
A prostate exam.
How old is he?
36.
What?
Exactly. Why is your doctor asking you
That's
for
like
this?
a 50,
when you're like,
like
I have a
50.
toothache.
Maybe.
Like, no, I need to give you a prostate exam, homie. Like, I didn't come. So when I say a doctor with a good bedside manner.
Okay, fine. Yes. If the Indian doctor is trying to put his thing on my butt.
Oh, no, that's not. I'm not saying the his doctor is Indian at all.
Okay.
But I'm just saying what I'm looking for criteria-wise.
Sure. Yes. If that's the baseline, yes. I want someone with not making me bend over bedside manner.
And if they do want me to do that, at least, do it discreetly or gently. All right. You ready to move on?
Sure. With that.
You're welcome. All right. Okay. So, Civil Rights. Black History Month just ended. But I want to know, in which areas do you think people's rights and liberties are at risk of government intrusion?
Ooh. I think, I feel like at all points in life, not all points in life, in all points in American history.
I was like, what?
I feel like it's always kind of been like a battle between like corporate interests and people's rights. Because I don't know how much, I guess like the general theory in, Marxist-Leninists, like Lenin says, like state and revolution, that the primary purpose of the police in general, right, is to manage the antagonisms between classes, right? Like they if there was no police, then the poor people would revolt and like take their shit or whatever. And, like, there would be revolution. So they need that police force to be to keep things in order, like peace and order. Or what is it? What is that phrase?
Sounds more like a private security for the bourgeois.
Oh, I'm incepting you with some ideas here.
Fuck.
It's not.
Well, that's how you present it.
Right. Obviously, they don't say that out loud, but
Nah, dude. I loved cop shows.
Yeah.
That ain't always the case. But I also watch cop shows which are made for American audiences like myself.
Have you heard of the concept of propaganda?
Oh, dude, I can believe it. I watch propaganda.
So actually, when the United States first started, there wasn't actually much police except for slave patrols.
That's terrible.
Yeah. So, slave patrols would, because it's literally capitalism, right? You got to keep the.
wait. Let's go back to the question.
Oh.
Yeah.
What was the question again? Right. But it's kind of related. So basically, okay, sure. So the police are in the way, whatever. So it's always kind of like it's kind of like a moving of like what the police can do or not or whatever, or what the government can take or not. And that's always determined by like how powerful the corporations are or not. And I think like in the past 40 years, I feel like as corporations have gotten more and more powerful, and now we just talked about Citizens United, how they have like more power over the government. I think like
so which rights and liberties, which specifically do you think are like, I'm gonna take this away from you, you can't have free speech anymore, no more guns?
They can't do anything like that specific wholesale, but it'll be just kind of like it'll be like almost like deaths by 1,000 cuts type thing, where
like
it's just
taking
kind of
away a person's right to have a baby or not have a baby.
Yeah. That's one of them, right? Like Roe v.
Women
Wade.
are gonna be second-class citizens again.
But Roe v. Wade, right? That was what, in the 70s, right? And Democrats had 50 years to try to codify it, but they didn't. And it's just kind of like, but
what do you think is gonna be the first? Yes, that
I actually think like freedom of speech is somewhat at risk. Like I don't know how much you've been following kind of like social media debates and on free speech and like what people are allowed to say, but people like it's funny because like before 2020, right? Republicans would have almost like free reign of like what they wanted to say, blah blah blah, whatever. And then like Democrats would complain or whatever, and then Republicans would be like, well, they're private companies, so you can't dictate what private companies are allowed to do or not or whatever. And then like after Biden won, it kind of like flipped to the opposite, where like now the tech and the government were aligned, so they started censoring a lot of shit. And then like Democrats would say like, oh, well, you can't complain because these are private companies. They would say fire right back. The Republicans saying like there's no free speech.
Well, they did pass the privacy laws this most recent year.
Oh, what are the
where corporations with I think over 500 people have to like have privacy regulations not only in their company policy but also to protect their employees' identities.
Oh, but I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about like if you're on Twitter, right? Because Twitter is owned by a company,
your
right?
best friend.
And no, that's another company. But and he's not, he's not really best friend anymore. But like,
yeah,
it was never best friend at any point in my life. Anyway, the point is like, companies own, social media companies like Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, whatever. And so the argument is like, well, corporations own these things. So who are you to complain about what their policies are or aren't on free speech? And so, yeah, I do think kind of like the free speech.
Why free speech? Because of the corporations?
Because corporations are dictating what the free speech kind of policies are, right? But they're, like it's all obviously different from American free speech because like American free speech is like you can basically pretty much say anything as long as it doesn't incite someone to violence or whatever, or incite some sort of rebellion or whatever, like obviously like the whole thing is like yelling fire in a movie theater, right? Like you're not allowed to do like shit like that. But if you, I think there were like court cases like that, but like basically every single social media site is a lot more restrictive than that. And you're not allowed to do things like, sometimes some of them you're not even allowed to use any sort of like bad words and like obviously the obvious ones are slurs and like whatever, but then like it feels like on Facebook and Instagram it's like almost like to the point where it's just like you can't say anything. Yeah.
All right, moving on.
And so so that might be one of the things to go first. All
right, what is your view as the most important policy issue facing the United States?
So for me, I mean, as a Marxist-Leninist, I believe that the primary contradiction of capitalism is imperialism, which is basically United States military just using its military to dictate what other countries do. And
I'm more powerful than you.
Yeah, basically, big stick policy. I don't know if you know the big stick, Theodore Roosevelt. The big stick policy is basically, like we don't.
Yeah, I get it. No, you don't.
Yeah. So basically, and the other thing about that is I think people don't also realize how powerful the military-industrial complex is, like how much people are just profiting off, like even like the war in Ukraine we're talking about. I think there was something crazy like a year ago, like CBS said that like 30% of like the stuff that we gave them is like unaccounted for. And it's just like, what? Like that's $30-40 billion of like military equipment like that could be in the hands of future terrorists. Like that's what happened in Afghanistan. We funded the Mujahideen against the Soviets, and
they turned around and were like, nope, we're coming after you.
They used it again, like these Stinger missiles and whatever, like they used them against us. And like who knows after this Ukraine thing is over, like what they're like what crazy terrorist cells might like be like, oh well, we're gonna like just kill the United States now because they didn't help us all the way or something like that. We don't know what's going to happen with all this stuff.
So what do you think needs to be done to solve this?
I think we all need to figure out what the best long-term like scenario is for the whole situation, especially, most pressingly about the Ukraine-Russia thing. We need to broker a peace deal because like what's happening right now, like it's obvious that the United States wants this war to go on no matter what. Because it's almost like sunk cost fallacy. Do you know that?
No.
It's basically like the economic idea of like, oh, well, we put in so much money already. It'd look bad if we, stopped now and bailed, right?
Oh, yeah. It's like putting money in a meter and you're like, I'm going to sit in the car and wait till my meter's out because I've already spent the money.
Exactly.
But really, you can do something better with your time.
Exactly. So that was actually a principle in the Vietnam War. Like there were so much people who wanted to pull out for a long time, but like it was like, oh no, we gotta win, we gotta whatever. It was the same kind of thing, and then
you gotta think of new gestures, man.
We gotta win.
We gotta do something.
We gotta win. Is that better?
Yeah, exactly.
And it's just kind of like we almost see the same thing, and in Afghanistan as well. We were there for 20 years. We spent
We were there for 20 years?
From 2001 to 2021.
Oh, yeah.
And then, you know what happened a week later? The Taliban just took over. And after a week. We didn't do any, we did nothing. And trillions of dollars were spent in that war. What
can you do with $1 trillion?
I want to be a trillionaire. So fucking... I don't know. God. I think Amazon is worth $1 trillion to put it in perspective.
No, I said, what would you do with $1 trillion?
What would I personally do?
Yeah.
I don't know. I guess I would try to solve capitalism.
So you think money will help solve it, or?
I would try to fund media organizations first and try to train cadres.
What are cadres?
They're the trainees in communist organizations that are trying to come up
Jesus
and
Christ. You know who you could get? Jehovah Witnesses. They're freaking good.
At what? Oh, recruitment
and all learning languages.
Is that what the HR people tell you?
Nah, dude, but I'm just yo, those guys got down.
Wait, how do you know so much about the Jehovah Witnesses?
Man, come on, you've experienced them in your life, haven't you?
I don't know, because my area was pretty WASP/Jewish.
Nah, dude, I lived in a very poor, low.
Houston, right?
Yeah. And it's just they were trying their bikes, just
making
their rounds.
I lived in a very liberal area. So,
no.
Yeah, no Latter-day Saints for me.
Yeah, I'm just and not only that, but they own so much real estate.
Oh, yeah. I don't know about so Jehovah's Witnesses are different from the Mormons, right?
Yeah, my bad. I'm thinking about Mormons. Apologize. But anyways, you're trying to look for an army? That's your army.
Well then, I will use my trillions of dollars to
recruit Jehovah.
I don't know. I might go back to I would also think about going back to Korea and just trying to help people in my my home country.
Would you try to merge North and South?
I think about it. Yeah. See if I could use my influence to try to broker a deal.
That'd be cool. Would you fund a K-pop band? You could. With
$1
trillion?
I don't know.
You could fund many K-pop bands.
But then, with that,
because then they'd be
I
part
feel like they know what they're doing.
Are you kidding me?
K-pop industry.
What's genius is if you come on, do what Trump did. Think about the marketing.
Okay.
K-pop is huge. You just gotta throw it in the lyrics.
Yeah, but you don't know how much these K-pop people train. They go through these freaking training.
They train like Jehovah Witnesses, dude.
Exactly. So I gotta get my Jehovah Witnesses to train my K-pop band, and then use them to spread my communist propaganda around the world.
Correct. You're welcome.
Thank you.
Campaign
if I have $1 trillion, this is my plan.
Good to hear. Wait, what kind of shirt are you wearing?
Oh, yeah. So, I've been wearing a Breaking Bad themed shirt, and then, because of the trail derailment and the Chinese spy balloon, this is kind of cool. It's kind of, so in Breaking Bad,
I hope you see how confused my face is right now.
So in Breaking Bad, they have this precursor called methylamine, which is you need methylamine in order to create methamphetamine. So the barrels that have methylamine in it they have the B on it.
Oh, okay.
So this is the logo that's on this barrel. Here? I don't know. So there's also a reference when they rob a train to rob some methylamine because it's an illegal precursor to have because it creates methamphetamine.
Yeah.
Or it's a very controlled substance. And so they steal it from a train and they're like, oh yeah, they probably get it from China because China produces a lot of chemicals that we use. Methylamine is used for other sorts of things.
Was methylamine in East Palestine?
Maybe. It's possible. I don't know.
They're we got caught with this. We got to blow it up.
There was not only that, you saw these videos of dead fish floating in the air, and then it also burned. So there was smoke of these chemicals all over it was just crazy. People shot things from space, and there was this huge black cloud of crap.
That's terrible and terrifying.
Yeah. I would say it's safe to say that Ohio is not going to vote Democrat anytime soon after that.
Dude, you don't know. What if someone, marketing. Okay.
That's true. Never doubt the power of marketing and propaganda.
Dude, this has been fun. Yeah. Except next time, can you bring some happier news?
It's kind of hard.
You know what?
Everything is falling apart.
Dive. No, I'm pretty sure you go through a lot of material. Something might.
What would you say is good news last year from what you heard last year? I guess I don't know, the Everything Everywhere All at Once. I don't know.
Yeah. Oh my God, Michelle Yeoh
won some SAG awards. I mean, like, I'm just kind of like whatever. But yeah, exactly. It's good news.
Dude, she's been in the industry for a fucking minute.
Yeah, and James Wan and had that whole thing. I was just like, yeah, great.
I'm just pretty happy.
Yeah,
but I
so
did not.
news,
But
right?
I knew that news already.
Oh.
Oh.
So I think so. Ivan told me he's our resident Hollywood expert. He told us that whoever wins the SAG Awards in these kinds of categories is very likely to win the Academy Awards because a lot of the SAG Awards are the same voters or a good amount. So he's going to keep his eye on the Directors Guild, whatever. But at least for these acting awards, it's very likely that, what was his name? The guy.
Oh, yeah.
He's probably going to win that Best Supporting.
And
this isn't certain. Don't bet your house on it or whatever. But he says generally that's the trend. But yeah, I don't know. Just yeah. I'll keep it at that to keep it happy. I want to insert any more editorialization of that.
Okay, thank you so much.
Yeah, I want to. Yeah.
And on a high note, all right. Do we need to fact check anything for this one?
I don't think we said anything too crazy.
Me neither.
No.
Although, you know what? I'd like you to do a little more research in Jehovah's Witnesses.
All right, we'll talk about Jehovah's Witnesses next time and Mormons.
Oh yeah, that'd be good. That'd be good.
Yeah.
I don't want to bring Scientologists into this, but they might be helpful too. Maybe. All right. Well, thank you so much for tuning in.
Yeah, and then I guess we'll talk about stuff next time. If you again, we did you want to do the question thing or no? Not really. You don't have any today.
No. I mean, I was asking you throughout.
Oh, okay.
I tried to sprinkle in.
Yeah.
Try to make it natural.
Yeah. So as always, I know it's only the third. We're probably not going to get that many questions for a while because it's like we're just starting out. But if you do have any questions for me or Andrea, maybe you have any questions for Andrea, but apparently she just wants me to answer questions.
Yeah, ask him very invasive questions, please.
All right. Well, if you have any questions at all, just bring them my way. The email, as always, is the Yellow Knight Podcast at gmail.com. It'll be down in the comments below or the description below. I'm not even sure how to do YouTube videos, really. So
you better learn.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you so much for watching. Please come back next time. This has been so much fun. I've had so much fun with you, Doug. And let's keep learning. God, you're so weird.
I know. Don't you love me?